Hello, everybody watching on YouTube, and welcome to the third and final event of Daytona Speed Week at Daytona International Speedway for the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series. I'm Levi McIntyre, the voice of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series, here to welcome you to the Great American Race, the Daytona 500. We're getting set for 50 laps of racing here at the biggest race of the season, and it's the race that kicks off everything. But I'm not alone for this race. I'm joined by James Qualls for co-commentary. Welcome, James.
What's up?
Oh, we're getting ready to get this craziness on the way. Now, before we get into everything, you're about to see on your screen momentarily the starting lineup for this race as a reminder of where each driver is starting for this race instead of doing the typical on the race weekend screen, because I want to make everything look more pristine, so to speak. But nonetheless, that is a look at the starting lineup. Now, for this race, and actually, no, for the season, rather, a few key things you want to remember. It's Ford versus Chevy, because we're doing almost like a Civil War kind of thing for this season, where we're going to have a manufacturer's championship. Whichever manufacturer gets the most points at the end of the season will get the manufacturer championship, which will be really interesting. This might be the only time we're going to do that. Couple of experimental rules. First, no more double file restarts after cautions come out. So if you're a lapped car, you won't start or restart on the inside of the leaders anymore. At least that's what I assume that's going to be, because I've turned off double file restarts, so we'll see how that plays out. Then some points fixing. I think I did this in Season 6, but I just don't remember. But there will be bonus points for qualifying well. If you get the pole, you get 3 bonus points. If you get second, you get 2 bonus points. And if you get third, you get 1 bonus point to make qualifying a little more intense and crazy for the race weekends. But nonetheless, also, this is going to be an experimental season, because we're going to be going to many new tracks and old tracks we haven't been to in a long time, like Bristol, North Wilkesboro, Twin Ring Motegi, Champs-Élysées, among so many other tracks. So we're going to be in for an interesting Season 7 nonetheless. But before we get to Command to Fire Engines, James, I want to ask you, what are your expectations for Season 7, and who's your pick to win this race?
I think I expect to see a great season in a Marvel Studios Cup, like it always is in in this series. And as far as Daytona, well, this track and Talladega are pretty much your two relative unknowns as far as who's going to run good, who's going to win this race, and what have you. So it's typically a crapshoot, those two tracks. So I think basically it's going to be a you pick 'em deal. I think because you got 41 tough drivers out there, you got several good rookies in this field. I think you're not going to know who wins until the checkered flag falls, basically.
Well, as far as my expectations for what I'm going to be seeing in Season 7 is hopefully more racing, so to speak. Like last season was arguably, in my opinion, the best season Marvel Studios Cup Series has ever had. And we'll see if Season 7 can top that, especially with all the new and old tracks we're going to be going to. But as far as who I'm picking to win this race, I'm going to go with a rookie. I'm going Jesse Turner, who's starting 22nd, just to pick someone random, and also because Jesse has a lot of experience in NR offline competition, but just new to this series, so we'll see what happens. But with that being said, let's get the Command to Fire Engines for the Daytona 500, shall we?
Drivers, start your engines.
All 40 drivers are now on the racetrack for their one pace lap around here. Now, so we've done some testing for this race prior to recording, and one thing we've noticed was that anytime a caution came out, the drivers would stack up and run into each other on the backstretch. Hopefully now with the I&I change, we won't have that happen. So we'll see what happens with this going forward. But yeah, reminder of who won the dual races this past Wednesday. Well, they're right there on the front row. Artur Castanha, all the way from Portugal, won Gatorade Duel number 1. And then right outside of him, from Iceland, Julia Katrine starts second after winning Duel number 2. And yeah, we got an international roster, so to speak, this season. We got Artur from Portugal. We got Julia from Iceland. We got Hannah Klein, who's somewhere in here, who's from Germany. We have Alyssa Drayson, even though she's born in New York, she lives in Switzerland. And, of course, we got Raphael Leduc from Canada and probably some other place I can't remember. But the pace car's in pit road. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time, boogity, 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 to go racing.
And it's official now. The NNSCRA Marble Studios Cup Series has gone international.
Very close at the line, but it was Cody Lamas who led the first lap, and now we're already getting some shuffling going on up here at the front because look who's coming to the inside. The Sanford brothers, Charles and Henry, working together, and their teammates out of S3 Motorsports, along with Jessica Sheldon, who's somewhere in this mess. As Charles trying to use the middle to try and take the lead from the 48, and barely shuts the door on his brother Henry to try and take the position. So the Sanford brothers currently 1-2 right now in the Daytona 500.
I mean, you look at the back of the pack. I mean, this is like the Indian 500 started in the Indianapolis 500. I mean, they are 3, 3, 3, and 3. I mean, like maybe 10, 12 rows deep.
And now we see a pass for the lead. Henry Sanford decides, you know what? I let you lead a lap, brother. I want to lead a lap myself and get a bonus point. Because after all, the points are going to matter, especially considering we don't do a chase anymore. Whoever has the most points at the end of the season is deemed champion, like it should be in all motorsports, but that's a whole other topic. Anyways, Jake Rogers tried to use the middle to take the lead, but we got Benjamin Miles on the bottom in that McDonald's Ford out of Young Motorsports, trying to lead this lap, and he does, and almost came down in front of Clint Spillman. That could have been dangerous, but Spillman was able to keep his nose on the bottom and try and take that position. Oh no, are they going to go 4 wide? Nope. They keep it together. They almost went 4 wide. Looked like, I want to say that's... Let's go to helicopter camera. Yeah, I thought so. The 52 of Raphael Fireblade. Just with those Horseman racing schemes, it's kind of hard to tell at times. But I see the 51 of Ricky Carman, who started in the back of the field, already up here in the top 5.
Using Rick Ware numbers, and I think they're performing well than Rick Ware Racing, obviously. No disrespect to that team.
But the leader at the time was the defending series champion, Rob Evans, who led at the line that time. Rob Evans trying to get Season 7 off and running with a bang and trying to defend his championship from Season 6 and go 2 in a row. And if he does, that would be historic. Right behind him is his best friend and teammate Johnny Gardner, who decides, you know what? Rob, you led a lap. I want to lead a lap now.
And Johnny and Rob, knowing those two, they like to needle each other. They like to rival and stuff like that. It's all with those two. It's all in fun, as opposed to like those who want to rival and make it just serious things out of it.
But at the line, Gardner didn't quite get the lap led. In fact, it was Hannah Klein who led the lap. But look at DJ Curtis, who started dead last, already within 6 laps up here into the top 5 and trying to get to the race lead.
DJ clipped the apron going into turn number 1. Looked like he got out of the track and it almost came up against whoever it was behind, alongside of him.
Are they going... Oh, I thought they were going to go 4 wide again, but luckily DJ Curtis gets up in front of Johnny Gardner to keep that from happening. Smart driving on the part of those guys, but we got Joey Parkhill in that Zev Bellringer number 38 out of Zev Bellringer Enterprises, along with his wife, Melissa Alexander, who you see right there, second in line on the bottom, as they're up here trying to work together with their affiliate teammate, so to speak, Caleb Kilburn in the 99, because remember, Zev Bellringer Enterprises and Average Joe Enterprises are in affiliation together. And Caleb Kilburn, who had a very, very good season in Season 6, got a few wins, top 10 in points for a rookie, came up short in both Rookie of the Year and the championship. But he's looking to get things going here by winning the biggest race of all, as his former teammate from last season, but affiliate this season, Melissa Alexander, right behind. But Jessica Sheldon trying to break up that party, as she's trying to take second away from Melissa. But Michael Norman, keep an eye on that 3 car in that Haviland NXT Chevy, the defending race winner of the Daytona 500, trying to go 2 in a row. Oh, but we got a spinner! Rafael LeDuc is involved! Oh, it's a multi-car crash. Caution going to come out as we had a multi-car accident. Looked like LeDuc got turned. Dylan Jacobs involved. He's got a little damage on the front and rear of the car. Clint Spillman looks like he got the absolute worst of that whole thing. Jake Rogers, Kyle Matthews was in it. Not very many cars, which is good, so it was a small multi-car accident. And it looks like Michael Norman leads at the line. Now we're gonna stay up here for the moment to watch out and see if these drivers are going to cooperate in trying to get into their respective spots and not run into one another.
You just know.
Although I see some cars, a couple of cars turned around. Chris Dollerton spun around, but luckily no major damage, which is good. I think he was trying to get to the bottom and just spun it around. Let's watch the drivers coming in. Looks like they're going to settle it out relatively alright. Although you got a little stack of cars that are trying to get into their position after what happened with Dollerton, but no running over one another. Although I see, well, Jake Rogers, I see he has damage, but I think that was from the wreck, not from this. So we got away with nobody getting stacked up and damaged, so that's a good thing. Michael Norman is your leader, however. Let's watch and see if anybody's going to elect to come to pit road this early in the race, and it looks like some are, but some are not. Rob Evans actually going to stay out, so he will be the leader when we get back to action. But before we do get back to green flag action, let's take a look and see what brought the caution out for the first time today here at the Daytona 500. Well, here's a look at what happened. So Rafael LeDuc tries to go to the bottom, but he sees the 32 of Artur Castanha right behind, and Castanha, I don't know if he was upset with the 62 or he just got tight, came up and turned the 62 of LeDuc, and they both come back up the racetrack, collect Dylan Jacobs, Clint Spillman, Kyle Matthews, who are the definite ones that were involved, and then Zorleen gets a little piece, so too does Carson Gum, but I think those two will be okay. Now, the 2 of Dylan Young, who you see up ahead, he's going to get a little tap right there from Kyle Matthews, but they kept it together for the most part right there. But I got to tell you, the driver who did the best job of avoiding everything would have to be that 70 of James Qualls. He was in the middle of all that, managed to slow down enough to not run over anybody, which is incredible. But with that being said, we're actually real quick going to do an onboard shot with the 70 of James Qualls. On board with James Qualls, watch as he gets through this mess. Somehow, someway, did not hit a thing. And just made it on through with ease. So after that multi-car accident, we got 5 cars that are out of the race, and they include Jake Rogers, Kyle Matthews, Jordan Forbes somehow damaged, Rafael LeDuc, and Clint Spillman. So unfortunately, those 5 will not get any points for this race, because remember, if you finish in the bottom 5, you don't get any points whatsoever, which can really break a driver's season. But Artur Castanha is the only car a lap or more down, and as you can tell, it looks as if that rule is actually working, so no lapped cars restarting inside of the leaders. So, speaking of the leaders, we had about half of the field come into pit road and half stay out. Rob Evans is your race leader, second Zach Rogers, third is Ryan Acosta, fourth Rafael Fireblade, fifth Melissa Alexander, sixth is Benjamin Miles, seventh Cody Lamas, 8th, Cole Deaver, 9th, Hannah Klein, 10th, Dylan Young. Rest of the top 20 is James Qualls, Julia Katrine, James Shelley, Michael Norman, Caleb Kilburn, Matt McIntyre, Ricky Karaman, Zachary Fitzwater, Jesse Turner, and Seth Cole. So that is your top 20 as the pace car pulls in the pit road, and we're about to get back to racing with 38 laps to go. We still got a long way to go in the Daytona 500. Anything can still happen.
Zach Rogers was ready on the start. He was trying to go to the outside. Now he goes inside. I think he's got the minute. It looks like he's going to take the lead in turn number 1.
Yeah, Zach Rogers thought about making a pass on the outside, but decided to cross over, go to the bottom, which was a great pass on the part of the 9 of Rogers. And as I'm looking back here to keep an eye out for any slower cars, Alyssa Drayson, I think she didn't see her get any damage. I just think she just maybe got held up for a moment. And there's Artur Castanha, who is 2 laps down, but it looks like he's still up to speed, even though he's got some rear end damage. I don't know if these two are going to be able to get back up to the pack in time. Zorlane, I think he got held up. And then you see Dylan Jacobs. I'm not sure if he's still up to speed or in his perspective got held up. But yeah, he actually got a few cars kind of scattering back here. Johnny Gardner, Joshua Sakuli, Carson Gum, Jay Jefferson, Chris Dollarton, all within reach of the pack, but is actually starting to lose the draft a little bit. So they're going to have to hope for a quick caution to try and get back up here. But back up at the front, Dylan Young leads the way here in the Daytona 500.
Nice Mountain Dew scheme he's got there on his number. Well, I should say, you usually would say blue deuce, but it's a green and black deuce this season.
Yeah, you got 2 Florida boys up here, 2 home state boys right here up at the front. Well, Dylan Young's not from Florida, he lives in Florida, but you get the idea. He's leading, and then you got Cody Lamas right behind him. And it's actually kind of starting to separate a little bit up here in the pack, as everyone from DJ Curtis on back was 3 wide. A little shuffling going on throughout the field, but Dylan Young still leading the way with Lamas right behind him, and then Rob Evans trying to help teammate Cody Lamas out and trying to either get second or get Lamas to the lead or even get to the lead himself. But yeah, you can tell like it's kind of scattered up here towards the front, and I see some damage on the right side of Cole Baker's car. I think he's just scraped the safer barriers. You see Michael Norman actually get the safer barrier a little bit, and that slowed him down a little bit right there. Trying to keep an eye out on who's all being able to run up here in the pack. Jessica Sheldon actually has some rear end damage. I don't remember her getting involved in anything. Oh, Shelley, good move getting behind the 52 there. I thought he was going to try and go for 4 wide right there, but yeah, you can tell the pack's starting to scatter and spread out a little bit. I don't know if it's because you got some cars that are just slightly damaged or what, but right now the middleman between the two groups is DJ Curtis, who's 12th right now according to scoring.
That would be my guess. You know, you got cars that's partially damaged in after that first big wreck and everything, that they started right there behind some of the leaders and everything.
But Dylan Young's still holding on to the race lead. Nobody's really making any real challenge to pass the 48, and Michael Norman's coming into pit road. I think he was... No, Michael actually came in the pit road under caution. Why is he coming into pit road so soon? I have no idea why in the world he's pitting this soon. Unless they perhaps didn't get all the gas in the car. I don't know. That's a very, very interesting situation with the 3 of Michael Norman. That he ended up hitting sooner than he would have wanted to. And yeah, he's the only car on pit road.
Coming back out on the track too, but he's going to go a lap down here, I suspect.
So yeah, now the field is separated into 2 groups of cars. You got this first group, which is led by Dylan Young and ends with Cole Baker. So this is the top 11 you got right here. And then everyone else that's still up to speed, from Melissa Alexander on back to Matt McIntyre, which is around 12th through 25th on track. So yeah, you got 2 different packs, and I'm not sure why this is happening. And now Michael Norman actually going to try and blend in with the main pack, although Cole Baker's coming into pit road now. So Cole Baker, either it's pit strategy or... Well, I don't know. If I recall, I think he was one of the drivers that did not come to pit road during the first caution.
I was going to say, because there were cars that stayed out there when the leaders made pit stops on the caution flag.
And I see one car that I'm interested in right now, Joey Parkhill. Look at the front end. He's got a slight buckle on the front end of his car, and yet he's still up to speed. Usually if you even have a small buckle on the front end, it can really affect your car aerodynamically and speed-wise, but I guess Joey Parkhill, and I'm trying to figure out how he could have gotten that. But I don't know, that's an interesting thing, but he's still up to speed and running up here for a shot at the win. But Cody Lamas actually took the race lead after all of the confusion. And they are about to approach a couple of slower cars, Dylan Jacobs and Jonathan Zorline, to put them a lap down. Now, if the 41 to 78 were to hold up this first group of cars, that could really benefit the second group back here just now going into turn 3. And there you see it, they are getting held up as the 78 and 41 hold up the leaders. Although you gotta wonder, now that they're in a draft, can they get up to speed or are they just too damaged? I think the 41's slow because he's not going faster than 181. Jacobs, on the other hand, I think he's in a similar spot. Although I think he's a little bit faster than the 41, or maybe they are finally getting up to speed. I'm not sure, but Dylan Young is definitely the one that got affected the most, as he just lost so much track position and might end up losing the pack if he doesn't catch back up in time.
That's the nature of plate racing, obviously. where it's Daytona Talladega, you can be leading one lap and then get caught up behind the lap car and be back to about 10th or 12th the next.
And Henry Sanford coming into pit road. So yeah, we're getting a lot of people coming into pit road now. So yeah, very interesting set of circumstances going on the racetrack right now. But it looks like Dylan Young, Joey Parkhill, and maybe Ryan Acosta are going to be able to still race up here in this group of cars. Although Acosta, he's about 5 miles per hour slower, so I feel like he's probably going to be the one that's going to lose out, although he's still trying to catch them. I don't know if he will, though. But yeah, it's 3x3 for about a good 3 rows deep up here, as you got the top 10 all in an umbrella up here.
That car in the back there, the Valvoline machine, he's now about close enough where he can sniff the draft off that bunch too. Here he comes.
Yeah, Ryan Acosta, great job at being able to stay up here and battle for position on the racetrack. Michael Norman, I forget. Actually, Michael Norman's a lap down, but he's just up here racing in the lead group. But Dylan Young actually now gets the lead back. Although we got a smoker car. Looks like Melissa Alexander's smoking. I'm not sure if... Is a caution out? I didn't see it wave. No, we're still green. Something happened to the 28 of Melissa Alexander. I don't know if she got damaged or she had a... Although I see James Shelley's got damage. I think maybe them two got into it. Maybe they were trying to get on the pit road and they got into one another, and that's what caused the engine of the 38 to explode. Same with the 33 of DJ Curtis. He's got rear end damage. Something went wrong with some cars trying to get in the pit road, I assume.
Yep. I noticed on the 28 car, Melissa Alexander, I mean, she had a little smoke come up in the cockpit of her car and everything. It's kind of one thing the drivers are kind of feared a little bit, when you have a situation like that, you're kind of in danger of smoke inhalation, possibly.
And Henry Sanford now going a lap down. But I think he'll be able to blend in with the lead group as well. So now he'll be an 11-car group up here at the front. But Joey Parkhill and Charles Sanford are the ones getting held up slightly as a result of this. Side by side for the lead. It's been back and forth for the most part in this green flag run between Cody Lamas and Dylan Young. But I'm just curious, how in the world is Dylan Young still out here and not running out of gas? Because remember, I believe he was one of the ones who did not come to pit road under caution. I don't know. It's really interesting strategy, I will say.
Fords usually get pretty good gas mileage.
But now Cody Lamas has the race lead, as he has two young motorsports drivers right on his trail, Benjamin Miles and Dylan Young. But because Jesse Turner stuck his nose in between them two, it separates them, as Miles still hanging on, trying to get to the lead. And I forgot to mention, we are past halfway here in the Daytona 500, so we're getting there closer to the end.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like they may have a couple more cars that they're going to come across. Alyssa Drayson in the 90, and Artur Castanha, who's already, I think, 2 laps down. Yes, he's already 2 laps down, so he might end up going 3 laps down here in just a little bit, because this group of cars is catching up to them really, really quickly. But yeah, unless a caution comes out, I don't think anybody from 10th on back is going to be able to have a shot at this unless a caution comes out, because of that pack separation that happened. Dylan Young and Charles Sanford getting held up by both of these cars, so they're going a lot slower, but I don't see that really benefiting that second group of cars that much, as they were 12 and a half seconds back as of the previous lap. And right now the leader is actually Charles Sanford because he's in the middle, and you got Michael Norman who's a lap down trying to get his lap back, and Rob Evans trying to run the bottom to try and take the position away from Sanford, as it's going to be 3 wide, but 2 of those 3 are actually battling for the race lead, and that's the 03 and the 88.
And Charles led that lap.
But now this group of cars has actually gotten bigger now that the 32 and the 90 are up here. And it looks like because of that, the 90 and the 32 are still up to speed as far as their engines. I guess it was just a matter of just losing the draft as to why they ended up in this position in the first place. And they're going to come across Dylan Jacobs again, who's actually even slower now. He's only going 165. So he's definitely going to be a hazard. Oh, contact! Down across the grass!
God.
And they somehow kept it together. He tried to get down in front of Rob Evans and nearly wrecked himself and the 88.
How that wasn't the big one, I'll never know.
And now Benjamin Miles and Cody Lamas are losing the main pack, but hopefully they can blend back in and catch up to them. But yeah, this front pack has kind of spread out a little bit. 3 wide. Dylan Young going to take the lead again.
That 2 car's got some horsepower.
Yeah, it does, even though he still needs to come to pit road, as it's now going to be 19 laps to go here in the Daytona 500. But yeah, I think what Dylan Young is really hoping for is a caution, so that way everybody could come into pit road at once and top off on their fuel tanks.
Indeed, he almost got it just a minute ago.
And yeah, we got a few cars that are now losing the main group. Caleb Kilbird, Cody Lamas, and Benjamin Miles, they are suffering now as a result of what happened with the 78. So now this pack of cars looks like it's just about the top 7 or 8 now that's battling for position. But Rob Evans, who didn't pit under caution, he's coming in. So it looks like 20 laps or so, a little over 20 laps, is the fuel tank that you have. So pretty much any moment, more drivers are going to come in, and then with about 10 or so to go, these drivers back here may end up having to pit one more time.
It's like you said, it's going to be all about fuel strategy here when they get down to the very end. Who played the fuel game perfectly?
But Dylan Young still holding on to the lead. I believe he has at this point led the most laps so far in the Daytona 500. And yes, I was correct. It's basically down to it's actually down to the top 5, as you got a few cars that are a lap or more down up here in this pack. But the 5 that are actually battling for the lead are Dylan Young, Charles Sanford, Ryan Acosta, Joey Parkhill, and Jesse Turner, my pick, ironically. And it looks like the lead group's actually catching up to this second group of cars, as they're straight away apart. Goes to show you the amount of momentum the lead pack really has on everyone else. Artur Castanha, the pole sitter, who's actually 3 laps down, trying to reel in Dylan Young to get one of those laps back at least. But he's got no help in the draft to really make that happen. And they are about to catch more slow cars. Zorlene again and James Shelley. As yeah, they are definitely catching up to that second group of cars in a hurry. So there may be more lapped cars eventually. But the leader, Dylan Young, getting held up, and that's opening up room for Ryan Acosta to try and make the pass, but now he gets held up by his teammate Zorlene.
Acosta ain't going to be happy about that.
Although Dylan Young, Ryan Acosta going to sacrifice positions to come to pit road, handing the lead to, I want to say, Joey Parkhill now. As you only got 3 cars up here in this lead group battling for position. Parkhill, Sanford, and Turner. James Qualls, he came into pit road previous lap. But I think he's about to go a lap down, at least for now. Oh, trying to blend in with the lead group, and he does, barely though. As Joey Parkhill still leads the way, as he's got a couple lap cars trying to go by to get their laps or so back. Parkhill, I'm not sure. I think he stayed out under the previous caution. I can't remember. But he's still hanging out up here. Charles Sanford now trying to take the lead, but he's also got Jesse Turner right behind him. So that is for the lead between those three, the 03, the 17, and the 38. There's Rafael Fireblade coming out of pit road. He's looking to try and blend back onto the racetrack, and he does. But yeah, things are going to get really interesting soon once people have to come to pit road. Then we'd see who would really be the leader in that instant. But the 38, the 17, and the 03 stay out another lap as they approach Benjamin Miles, who's currently the last car on the lead lap, and now he's about to go a lap down, at least for now. Charles Sanford now has the lead all to himself as the 38 and the 17 had got lap cars stuck all around them. And yeah, you can tell they are catching this second group of cars pretty quickly, which that group is led by, looks like, Johnny Gardner. Dylan Young and Ryan Acosta managed to stay on the lead lap for now. So I feel like once things cycle around, if these drivers up here have to come to pit road, they'll be 1 and 2 perhaps. But it's 12 laps to go here across the line. Sanford led that time, but now they've caught Dylan Jacobs again, who's the slowest car on track. And that handed the lead to Jesse Turner now, as he's right behind Qualls and Henry Sanford. Then Charles Sanford and Joey Parkhill are actually now almost a second behind the 17 of Turner. Tough break for those two as they got held up by the 78 of Dylan Jacobs, and that allowed for Jesse Turner to keep the race lead. But yeah, the field is really, really spread out everywhere, as we just showed it to you. Jesse Turner, currently at the line, had a 1.1 second lead. Now goes by James Qualls to put him a lap down, at least for the time being, because I feel like the 17, the 03, and the 38 have got to come to pit road very, very soon.
Indeed, because as you said, you had a couple of different packs there that pitted about 10 laps apart, if not more than that.
And Joey Parkhill is really losing it as he's third, but he's actually now lost the lead pack draft. So that leaves just Charles Sanford and Jesse Turner to battle it out for the lead, at least for now. And Sanford actually takes that position away as Charles Sanford has the Daytona 500 lead for now, as they are about to catch DJ Curtis, who's slightly off the pace as you see the damage on the rear end of his car. I almost want to speculate with him, James Shelley, and Melissa Alexander. I feel like there was a stack up between those three trying to get on to pit road, and that's why they all got damaged, and Melissa ended up destroying her car and putting her out of the race.
I think that's about what it looked like to me with the yellow flag.
But I'm still trying to figure out how in the world have these guys, the top three, how in the world have they not come to pit road yet?
Beats me.
And I still want to say that they were the ones who stayed out under caution. And they've been able to make it so far 41 laps going on 42 laps of gas. I just don't know how that's possible. And they still aren't coming to pit road. Let's watch the 38 of Joey Parkhill. Is he going to come down? No, he's going to stay out. Unless some crazy voodoo magic happens, I feel like the win is going to come down to the 03 of Charles Sanford and the 17 of Jesse Turner. As Turner actually with using the 32 of Artur Castanha as a drafting buddy to try and get the race lead for himself, but Sanford, in that high line with more cars, able to keep the spot for now, and clears the 17. Oh, but Jesse Turner's gonna sacrifice second to come to pit road. Let's watch Joey Parkhill as he's third. Looks like he's coming into pit road. So, yeah, and also some of those last remaining lead lap cars are coming in. This could easily shake up the entire race as Sanford still leads as he's still out on track.
I think Charles is running on a prayer right now.
I mean, unless he has cars to his inside trying to go by him, I don't know. I think Charles Sanford, will have a safe entry into pit road, and it looks like he's signaling to everybody to go up high, and now he's coming in. So Charles Sanford looks like he's going to perhaps sacrifice the race lead and the win to try and come in and top off on gas. But I got no idea, and Caleb Kilburn actually coming in. He was fourth a few laps ago. I have no idea who could be the race leader now after all of this pit road chaos.
That is heartbreaking, though. I mean, you come down about a little more than 5 laps ago into 500, and you're leading, and you have to pit. That is a little bit heartbreaking in that sense.
Like, according to scoring, Charles Sanford still leads, but I'm just not sure about that. We'll just have to wait until he crosses the line next time by for 5 laps to go to see if he is the leader or if somebody else is the leader. I don't know, but I feel like the scoring is going to be a little bit confusing here in just a few moments.
If he's still leading, though, he may have pulled up a steal here, possibly.
All right, let's see. Let's find out. We're crossing the line. And according to scoring, Sanford is still the leader.
Oh, my gosh.
And he's leading by 4 seconds over Jesse Turner. Then third is Rob Evans. Then Ryan Acosta. Cody Lamas, Dylan Young, Caleb Kilburn. Then Benjamin Miles. Then James Qualls, Henry Sanford. I think those would be your top 10 right now. Oh man, Charles Sanford, he's hoping that he can hold off long enough to maintain the lead and win this race. As I'm also watching Jesse Turner and see if he's faster than the 03 or not.
Well, as long as Charles has got cars behind him in the draft that he's in right now, I think he's in good shape.
He's leading by 5.5 seconds, and it's 4 laps to go. Unless some crazy stuff happens with slower cars, I don't think anyone is going to pass him. Although you got a few lap cars trying to race him right now. You got Carson Gum, Joshua Sakuli, and Artur Castanha all racing him, and almost 3 wide.
And Charles saying, I don't want to lose that lead
Jesse
draft.
Turner is actually slower, as now here comes more lead lap cars trying to get second at least. There you see him, Evans, Young, Lamas, and Acosta all racing for second with Turner. I feel like that might have just sealed the deal for Charles Sanford unless something crazy happens. No one's beaten the 03 today. Nearly 7 seconds between first and second, and it's 3 laps to go.
That is just tremendous pit strategy to 03 team pull right there to go that long on a tank of gas, pull out to the lead that they did before the pit stop, and somehow keep it. I mean, that's cagey strategy on the crew's part.
Absolutely. And also, I completely forgot to mention, after every race, we will show you the race awards of who got what award, like crew, like problem solver of the race, lap leader, so on and so forth. 2 laps to go here in the Daytona 500. Oh, Artur Castanha about went onto the apron. That could have been a game changer for this race if things happen. Although that last lap, Dylan Young and company managed to gain a second on Charles Sanford, but I don't think it's going to be enough.
I don't think so either. Like I said, Charles has got the traffic behind him. He's got the drafting help of his own.
As I'm keeping my eye out on everything, as we're coming to the white flag. White flag is out for Charles Sanford. Five seconds separate the top 2. That second group of lead lap cars are trying so hard to catch the 03, but he's just got too much distance between himself and second place, so it's just not going to be enough. If there were more laps, then definitely they would have had a shot at it, but they're running out of time as they're halfway down the backstretch going into turn 3. Charles Sanford, nobody's going to make anything happen against him. He's pretty much scot-free as we're coming off of turn number 4 for the final time. Charles Sanford just has lapped cars behind him. Checkered flag waving. Charles Sanford wins the Daytona 500 to kick off Season 7.
Well played for the 03 team. Well played.
Crazy pit strategy going down in the second half of the race. And Sanford, I'm still not sure if he stayed out under the only caution or did pit. Either way, he was able to stretch his fuel tank out for a long time and managed to get the W in a pit strategy race of all things, which is really, really odd for Daytona. But nonetheless, congratulations to Charles Sanford. Huge win. I can't remember the last time he won a race, but man, he pulled it off here today.
They're rocking and rolling in California right now, aren't they?
Well, with that being said, let's take a look at the rest of the results, as Rob Evans, so close to getting the win. If there was more laps, he might have had a chance, but gets a second place run nonetheless. But a great follow-up run for his championship season by finishing second here today. Cody Lamas, who was pretty much a top 5 car all race long, comes through with a third place run. Ryan Acosta, highest finishing rookie, finishing in the 4th position. And then Caleb Kilburn with a solid comeback in 5th. Henry Sanford came back from being a lap down most of this race and gets 6th place. Dylan Young, who was arguably the dominant car all race long, gets 7th. Joey Parkhill, despite damage, finishing strong in 8th. Jesse Turner, who was my pick, close, got 9th. And then James Qualls, who also came back from being a lap down, got 10th. Then there's the rest of your top 20, rest of the lead lap cars, and then the final drivers in the field. And Julia Katrine was actually out of the race. I didn't know what happened to her, but she, along with Melissa Alexander, were out of the race. But the bottom 5 who are not getting points are Jake Rogers, Kyle Matthews, Jordan Forbes, Rafael LeDuc, and Clint Spillman. Well, that does it for our coverage, although here you see Charles Sanford's victory burnout But I'd like to thank James Qualls for stopping by the booth today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure here. Pleasure anytime, Levi. And great race in the in this Daytona 500. Congratulations to Charles on the win. Like I said, cagey pit strategy by the Zero team. They knew what they were doing. Like I said, well played on the way to victory.
And now here are your final results, rookie points, and regular points heading into our next race, and also the series awards, also the race awards. But until next time, this is Levi McIntyre signing off.